Hi, this is Tisch Aitken, and it's Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. We are still in eclipse season really until November 13th when we have the new moon in Scorpio, and I will do a video on that on Friday. But right now, we're still working with the aftermath of the eclipses, and it's been really intense. We have 3 points transiting in Scorpio, which is a time to very intense time. You can uncover hidden information. And with eclipses bring things to light. And Mercury and Mars have been traveling along together in Scorpio. Mercury is the planet of communication, Mars is the god of war. And Mars rules Scorpio in ancient astrology. So that can be very belligerent, combative energy, as we have seen, unfortunately. And a lot of people are very angry, understandably. The world is in chaos. As a friend of mine said, half of the world is on fire. And unfortunately, that is true. You look to the first eclipse we experienced on October 14th at 21 degrees of Libra. That's less than a minute from the world point. It was at 21 and 6 minutes of Libra. And that is very close to the world point, bringing big worldwide events. Obviously, the situation in the Middle East and the worldwide reaction, and also setting off the Saturn Pluto conjunction from January of 2020, which forever brought down and changed the structures in our world. And this is very, very heavy. Pluto is transiting at the late degrees of Capricorn, and Pluto is about power, and Capricorn itself is a sign of authority, people in leadership, and karma. And we just had Saturn stationed direct over the weekend at 0 degrees and 30 minutes of the mutable water sign of Pisces. You feel the buildup 5 days before and 5 days after. And that was only a few days after the second eclipse on October 28th, which was a partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees and 9 minutes of Taurus. And that eclipse was also very volatile because there was very strong Mars energy. Mars was conjunct Mercury, and Eris, the goddess of discord, was right on the north node of karma, and very intense. So we've been dealing with very combative, angry energy on the world front in our own lives, and eclipses uncover hidden information and bring things to light. A lot of people have heard a lot of things. I had a friend find out a lot of information this past weekend. Well, Mercury in Scorpio is like the detective. Having Mercury in Scorpio is a great placement for doing research. And just in the eclipse wake of the eclipses, Mercury opposed Uranus, getting unexpected information, really bringing things out. And this coming weekend, Mars will oppose Uranus. We have to prepare for this weekend. It's going to be pretty heavy because, well, let's get to what's leading up to it. So we're still dealing with Saturn. The good thing about Saturn on one level is that we get a chance to redo Saturn in Pisces thus far. Saturn entered Pisces on March 7th, and it will be there on and off through February of 26. And it's the very first degree of Pisces. So this is a time to recalibrate what you've been dealing with, restructure what has felt like, for a lot of people, very lost, a very difficult journey to navigate. And Saturn in Pisces is not an easy placement. It's not in its detriment or in its fall position, but I find Saturn in Pisces really tough. And I find that people that have it natally in their charts have a lot of challenges with it. And so, with this said, Saturn is still about structure, it's about ambition, it's about trying to be cohesive in Saturn and Pisces. Good luck to all of us. But got to keep moving ahead. And for many, they're finding a shift in what they're doing. Again, redoing things that happened earlier in the year. Maybe the last round of eclipses in April, May. Maybe now you get an opportunity to redo that story because now these eclipses are bringing up stories from them, from then rather, and from them, from those eclipses. So we're picking up where we left off in that now we're taking a whole new direction, and the eclipses are no longer going to be in the Taurus Scorpio axis. Now they're in the Aries Libra axis. The north node of karma is transiting in Aries, and the south node of karma is transiting in Libra. And that big eclipse on the world point in Libra, even though a new moon is a time to plant new seeds, it's also, there's a release in it. And a lot of Libras are going through endings and letting go and change. And we all are really. Pluto is squaring the nodes of fate. But this is a time with Saturn stationing in Pisces. The truth may come out now, even more so. Or if there's been something really difficult, getting a hold of it. And it's a very, very tough time to do reports when we are dealing with such mayhem and chaos. And I'm trying to find a way myself to be positive about all of this because it's incredibly frightening. And we have Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and what you value, entering the cardinal air sign of Libra late Pacific time at 10:25 p.m. Pacific daily standard time, and Eastern time on the 9th, on November 9th at 1:25 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. No, I think it's tonight. Tonight it's at 10:25 and tomorrow it's at 1:25 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So Venus will be in its dignity, the sign it rules, at the world point. So there might be some big events tomorrow, 0 degrees of the cardinal signs. And Mercury forms a sextile to Pluto. That's a very harmonious aspect. But Venus, at least it's in Libra, although we've had a lot of Libra energy. We had an eclipse in Libra that certainly didn't feel very diplomatic or loving in any form. So, it's been difficult. And at least Venus will be in its dignity, and it's going to transit in Libra uh, through December 4th. And then we have, let's see, a little later in the week, Mercury is going to enter Sagittarius, and it's going to do so on the 10th, and it's going to square Saturn. So that is also, again, a reality check. Saturn just stationed in Pisces. Now we have Mercury in its detriment in Sagittarius, squaring the reality planet, saying, pardon me, how are you going to deal with this? What are you going to do? And next weekend will be tough because the moon is going to be in Libra. It's going to go void with a square to Pluto, the planet of power, death, and regeneration. Then the moon will enter Scorpio later in the afternoon. I can't remember the times, but I'll give them to you later. And it's going to enter Scorpio, and Mars will oppose Uranus, and that is difficult energy. We had Mercury oppose Uranus last weekend on Saturday. Often you feel it before it's exact with Uranus or Mars cycles, and now you got the two. It's a double whammy. That can be accidents, that can be violence, that can be very, it's difficult energy, Mars and Uranus together. So being more vigilant, being mindful, knowing that people could get very riled up really easily, and being, just also with driving and with cars, I mean, being aware of that. And the thing about Mercury entering Sagittarius on the 10th is it will enter its shadow the weekend of Thanksgiving in the United States around November 25th. It gets to 22 degrees of Sagittarius because it will retrograde on December 13th. at 8 degrees of Capricorn. And then it stations direct on January 2nd, the very beginning of next year, at 22 degrees of Sag. So by Thanksgiving weekend, paying attention to the Mercury retrograde story. I think it's positive Saturn's direct, even though I don't like it in Pisces. At least for a lot of us, we can reframe what we've been dealing with this year. And there's a lot of deception, a lot of scams going on right now. I've heard about that. Two people getting scammed and people being dishonest, but it's going to be tricky. Neptune's at the late degrees of Pisces, but Saturn now going direct is going to help us to move more towards the truth. And a lot of us have gotten an earful the last month or so, with these eclipses, with the Scorpio season. So lay low. It's a very difficult time. I don't need to tell you that. You'll need astrology for that one. But I'm sure in a lot of your lives, not just on the world stage, I've heard of many crazy stories this last month or so. So take it easy, and I'll talk to you soon.